What's up, everybody? Tobin here with you. Thanks for tuning on in, huh? You guys are good people. I appreciate that. If you guys like the radio show, Tobin and Leroy, tune on into the YouTube page over at the Ticket Miami. I'll put the link in the description. You guys can go over there. Subscribe, do, and listen while you're trending on down there with your mouse as I flems up. Go and subscribe to this too. You get all the notifications when we put things on up. And was boots on the ground yesterday at Cooper City High School for Miami Heat camp. Gabe Vincent was speaking, which was cool. It was good to hear from the Heat guard as he got peppered with questions from the kiddies. I always love that. I love the kids. They can come up sometimes with better stuff than even the media does, because they don't care. Kids don't give they don't give one rat's ass about political correctness. Some of them get a little reckless. I'm not going to lie. The way they're talking to Bernie the mascot. If I was Bernie, I'd go up there and slap him with his upside with his fireball hands. But he showed great restraint, which you got to respect from the Burn man. I love that. Highlight of the afternoon was somebody asking Gabe Vincent about the Jimmy Butler shot, and this is what the Heat guard had to say about that, and respecting and defending his guy.
Oh, I'm so glad we brought this up.
What did you think of Jimmy Butler's shot?
I loved it. I thought the game was over. I thought we won. I had a lot of faith in Jimmy's shot, and I know he'd take it again, and I support that shot. He went for the kill, and I can't help but appreciate that as a competitor.
Which I love from Gabe. I like the fact that he's out there and he's defending Jimmy. He's got Jimmy's back. It's been an interesting thing. Here's a little bit more reflection that Gabe had on the Jimmy Butler shot.
Sometimes it ends a little better than it did. I'll tell you that much. Sometimes it ends a little better than it did. But like I said, I support Jimmy. I support the shot. I probably would have done the same thing in his position. Heavy's the head that wears the crown, and I'm sure he got a lot of heat for it. But, he has my support. So
it was funny because Game 5 was really the first time that I had allowed myself to do the what-if game with the Heat. The Warriors took a 3-2 lead. I think they're going to win it in 6. We'll see what happens. That was my original pick. I think it's going to happen. They look healthier. They look explosive. Boston turning the ball over left and right like they have been. And, you lose a game like that with Steph Curry stinking up the joint. Can't have a lot of faith. And Boston really hasn't been difficult to win. It hasn't been difficult to win in that building. They've lost a lot of games at TD Garden this year. So it was the first time I really had allowed myself to think about, what if the Heat were in this series? It was too painful early on. I wasn't, just kind of wanted to sulk in the loss. It was bitter. It was painful. And I really just was like, I'm not going to do the thing where all the Heat could have batched up. I've seen some of that. The Heat are the best team, better than both of these teams. I don't know about that. I do think, though, when you play that even a series with Boston and, winning quarters be damn, how banged up Miami was with Kyle Lowry being what he was, with PJ Tucker being what he was, with Tyler Herro being what he was, them playing Victor Oladipo a ton of minutes when the guy had a 15-minute limit early on in the season. It was the first time I'd really allowed myself to think, what if Miami got to the finals? What would have happened if they would have taken on the Golden State Warriors? And, I'm crazy enough to think, I'm like, man, I think they would have had a shot. I think they would have had a shot against this team. It's interesting because Tyler Herro did mention this. I asked him about this in his exit media day. I said, well, where were you progressing? Where were you at with the whole groin injury? And he had said that he was that he believed that he was going to be near 100% by the time the finals rolled around.
Going into Game 7, I was kind of on the fence whether I should play or not, and I felt like I was healthy enough to play, and me and Spo had a good conversation, and he just felt like it was all hands on deck, and whether I was going to play or not kind of just depended on how the game was going. But we liked the way that my groin was progressing, and we thought we'd get Game 7 and I'd be close to 100% for Game 1 of the finals. So just unfortunate, the way the season ended, but I thought I'd be ready to go for Game 1.
The other thing that's interesting about it is, you look at the way this series has been. We've seen a guy like Robert Williams playing a lot better because he's getting those 2 days off. Thing that was crazy about the Eastern Conference Finals is like every other day. There's none of that rest. So if you would have given a couple days off, how does a PJ Tucker feel? How does a Kyle Lowry feel? How does a Tyler Herro feel? Now, I will say this. It does look like Golden State healthiest of the bunch, It's been an interesting thing seeing that they've been, while everybody's kind of dropping like flies all over the place, they have basically stayed relatively healthy. Even with Boston, people are wondering if Jason Tatum's all the way healthy, dealing with a shoulder thing. We know Marcus Smart has been banged up. We know Robert Williams dealing with what he's been dealing with. But they have been able to get through it. I really do think that he were a little bit more at a depleted level than Boston was by the end of that series. But with these extra days off, you do wonder, like, how would Miami have reacted? Like, Kyle Lowry did have his moments in Game 6. PJ Tucker certainly was a menace, but looked like he was just broken down by the end of it. So how would that have affected it? I think Miami would have benefited from that. You look at the struggles that Jason Tatum has had, and you look at what Jimmy Butler was doing by the end of that series, and it's not like Jason Tatum. I know he won the Larry Bird Award, but like I didn't feel like he lit that series on fire. I really didn't. At times, I was more fearful of Jaylen Brown, and I know, Tatum can go out there and he can do the facilitating, all that. And he does crave a lot of attention, but this thing with him at the rim has been super weird, and all of that type of stuff. So you think about what a Jimmy Butler could have brought to that series. And then I think the real X factor with it is Bam. Bam has had a couple of series here where he's had to go up against some real big front lines between taking on Joel Embiid and taking on the Williams-Horford duo. And this is a series, I feel like, where he could really feast. Like, it's really going to open up for him. And so it's tough. It's tough not thinking about this type of stuff when the finals are going on and you're looking at Boston looking like, I don't know if it's running out of steam, but just looking like they're a little bit outmanned. And you wonder, and a little bit, and a lot of it's frustrating because a lot of it's them shooting themselves in the foot, I think, probably for the Sully and Murphs out there, that they probably feel like if they really played to their best level, that they would be much better. But if some butts were candy and nuts, like, dude, that's just what they've been doing is killing themselves and turning the ball over. I think for Miami, the things that, you would worry about, certainly, like, you go back to the health thing. How, can Kyle Lowry give you anything? Is Steph Curry going to run circles around him? Do they play Gabe Vincent a little bit more? 3-point shooting. I mean, my God, it feels like with the way the Warriors can get hot and the way the Heat have been shooting, that feels like that could be a disaster. But from the standpoint of, the Warriors haven't exactly had the perfect series from their whole team. Wiggins has been a beast lately and has come on really, really strong. But, Klay's had his shaky moments. Draymond has certainly looked awful for the most part in this series. And so, yeah, you look at it and you're like, man, I don't feel like this is like your dynasty Warriors team. Like, credit to them. They look like they're on their way to winning a championship. Who gives a rat's ass, right? It's like that they always wrote the Spurs off by the end of it, and they were still able to go get one. But I think for me, I just looked at it and I said, man, I really feel like I look at this and I think to myself, I'm like, Boston, they were close to Miami. It was a close series. I'm not going to sit here and say, like, oh, Miami got hosed out of the series, any of that stuff. Look, they won fair and square, other than, of course, a Max Strus 3 getting erased out of nowhere. But, we are talking just we are talking the difference of a shot, right? Like a Jimmy Butler 3 goes down, the Heat are able to get another stop, which Boston was really melting down by that point. How do you not have the what ifs? How do you not feel like Gabe Vincent when he tells you sometimes it ends up better off than it is, And right now the Heat fans are just left scrambling. But, I've been doing a lot of, wailing and thinking about the changes and talking about not running it back and all this type of stuff. And then today and this week, ever since Game 5, I've really been allowing myself the sliver of, man, what if they would have gotten into this series? Would they have been good enough? Could this have been a championship team? Because we go to the elements of, no, they're not. Trade everybody. Everybody but Jimmy's a bum. Pat calls everybody out. this, that, and the other. And for me, I'm just like, I watch this series and I think to myself, once we're 5 games in, I think to myself, man, what could have been? What could have been? And Gabe Vincent, hearing him say that yesterday kind of brought all that back for me. I like the fact that he supports his guy. I'm with him. You support your guy. You believe in that shot. You believe in Jimmy Butler. He deserved to take that shot. And you thought when it went up, you're like, I think that's going in. And even Jimmy, like he put his little end of the year montage and ended it with that shot. It's and they're going to go into an off season here whenever this NBA Finals ends, whether it is the Warriors, maybe Boston ends up pulling it out. I will say you really can't count them out. They have shown a good resiliency this year. But whenever this offseason starts, I think that it's going to be a very, very busy, lot of transactions, a lot of moves happening. And you think about how much better you feel if a shot goes down, how much different it feels if a shot goes down. So thanks for that yesterday, Gabe. I appreciate it, man. I'm sure you're feeling it a lot worse than I am, but that one stung reliving that and all that. But Gabe is Gabe was classy to the kids and gave a lot of good stuff. This is a little bit of him before we get out of here on what he's got coming up for his off season.
Yeah, I think the prepping starts for me like mentally before it starts physically. So I think it's already started in terms of setting out the framework. What are we going to do different? How are we going to change some things? And what do we do already that we need to get better at and so forth, and try to put a schedule together. So I think that process has already begun. And probably once I get back to California, I'll full steam ahead. So
interesting to see what he's got coming back, man, because he was a menace. I think he really made a name for himself in this offseason. You saw, by the middle of the Hawks series, Trae Young was, crying and whining about how physical the Heat were, and Gabe's got that sly smile on his face. And then you think by the Eastern Conference Finals, Trae Young's campaigning for Gabe Vincent to be on the T-shirt, and be in the graphic. So it was a really, really good year for Gabe, and he should be proud of that. And I'm excited to see what kind of player comes back for the Miami Heat this year.